hear me now. YouTube, let me know if you can hear me. Facebook is welcome to join us whenever you get there, Rob. There it is. We're streaming live. Let me double check this audio since, yeah, it sounds like everything's working on YouTube. Hello to everybody on all of the social media platforms. We have a very interesting night. And there's something that I have been thinking about actually since Saturday, which kind of got me excited for doing this class today. It's not an intro class. This is a oh my God, I got the greatest prop in the world. And oh, I didn't turn on my camera. There we go. Pop that up. There we go. I just got the greatest prop added in the world, and I want to put it in my show. And I have some real world experience and things that I want people to be prepared for whenever it comes to adding into their show. Even though their show is open and running, and some maybe a couple of best practices, things I ran into, and things that you should pay attention to while you're doing it. And I want to walk through that. But first, I want to share my screen here because I have I think I have 3 announcements. I don't know. I got a couple things to share with you. Number 5. So Facebook can see it, and now YouTube can see it. So you should see that we have something very special that we're going to try doing. I have a sequencer lined up to do a song, and Robert and I are kind of locked into this tie of what song we want to put into the PPD sequence store, and we want this to be ready for. We want this specific song to be ready. Starting for February. It's not a club member song. It's just a song that we are adding to the store. And there are 2 songs. The 2 songs are Ed Sheeran, the song Perfect, which has billions of views, and the other song, which many, if you're Gen X, if you're a boomer, if you're a millennial, you know Meatloaf and the song "I Would Do Anything for Love," which was really brought into perspective in the '90s. So these are 2 songs that we want to bring in, but we only have time to do one between now and Valentine's Day. So we wanted you guys to tell us which song that you think you would vote for if it were in the store. It would be a song that you'd really love to have. There's only 2 choices, and I voted for Ed Sheeran. But that's why we're discussing this now with you guys. But if in any event, we only have 2 days, so you have 48 hours to go in. You only have 48 hours to go in. And hey, Rob, can you go ahead and mute that? There we go. We only have 2 days that we can do this because we have to get started on the sequence, because it takes time to sequence and do a great job with the sequence. And both of these songs are not the shortest songs in the world, so they're going to take some time to get done, and we want to do a fantastic job with them. So please go to the PPU Facebook page and click on this post. It's pinned to the top of the page, and pick one. Fill in the comments if you like. If you have other suggestions for some other songs, fantastic. Go ahead and put them down there. But one of these 2 songs is going to win. I actually posted this about 30 minutes ago, and unfortunately, I forgot to limit and make it so that people couldn't add additional choices. So I have deleted the old post. This is the new one. Please go back and put your vote in. If you want to put some comments in, you're welcome to do so. The second announcement I want to make is to our friend. Congratulations to our friend here in the Zoom room. I don't know if he joined with us just yet. He may come a little later if he's not in here already. Candace and Brad Lunar, the Lunar Family Lights, has won the Great Christmas Light Fight. They are a 2025 winner. They, of course, recorded in 2024, and we couldn't be more proud for them. And the reason we couldn't be more proud for them is because they asked us to do some extra work for them on some sequences that were featured for the opening songs for their judging night whenever the Great Light Fight came and viewed their homes. So the two songs that were played for the judge were Lindsey Sterling, Joy to the World. This was a huge request from Brad from 2 years ago. And we knocked it out 2 years ago, and then he came back and he said last year he'd really like to see a very pronounced update for it. And so we obliged him. The PPD sequence team jumped in. I did some extra work, and we're very proud of this song, as well as another song that Brad selected to show for the judges, and that was Encanto. Like, what else can I do? So we're very proud to be once again part of the Great Light Fight winning side, the winning team, if you will. We're very proud of Brad because he's the one that did the hard work. Our team just kind of sat there and looked at the screen and sequenced, and we tried to do our best to make it easy to import and make their show look as best as they could. And we all know Brad, if you're in this room for any amount of time, you all know that Brad spends a ton of time, a huge amount of time, working on getting the best results from sequences. And we couldn't be more proud that we're going to offer $30 off of both of these sequences. And he kind of hinted to us last week that he thought that everybody deserves to get a copy of either of these, and we're going to do a discount code for the Great Light Fight songs that he chose, even though they dubbed over the songs. This is going to be the code's going to be GCLF winner, and if you want to, and I'll put that in chat. For the two sequences, GCLF winner. That's the code. Go ahead, and if you want, and I guess I could throw it in over here. GCLF winner. This works for everybody. There's no restrictions. It's the pro layout version of either of these two songs. I will eventually, I didn't have time. There's just too much to do in a day. But I will post this on the company page and then share it in the group. And you guys are welcome to take advantage of this as you like. It's $30 off. Great Light Fight winner is the code. And congratulations again to our friend Brad and Candace from Northeastern Ohio. I mean, they knocked it out of the park, and we couldn't be more proud of their success at winning the Great Light Fight. So there's the major announcements that I'd like to get into. So what I want to move on to now is the webinar tonight, and I don't want to fill this with a bunch of useless information. I'd like to make this about getting something added into your show at the last minute, whether you think you can add it or not. And I really did not think I was going to be able to add the something into my show, and I wanted to walk through the process of what would it look like if you did want to add something into your show, brand new, or something that you wanted to bring in to run into your show, even though you've got everything up and running. One of the biggest things that Robert and I have really preached to the community is, if you are new to the hobby and you get your show running, don't touch it, okay? I've done a fair amount of messing around with the show, and what I want to share with you is, in my opinion, if you're going to add something, the most likely way to successfully add it with having the least amount of problems. And so the first thing I'm going to say is, if you decide that you are going to add something to your show, you are asking for a lot of detailed work, a lot of specific things that you need to go in and do. My addition was very, very easy. And the reason it was easy, and you'll see why it was really easy, it may not be easy on the outside whenever you look at what I came from and what I'm going into, but at the same token, if you try to do the same thing and you're doing it without having an extra controller to do this with, and you're using DDP, or you're using absolute channel mapping, you're in for a lot of everything's not working. And so be very, very careful before you proceed with doing something like this. So let me start by showing you, this is my home layout. This is my home show. There are some things that haven't made it into the show yet. Whoops, I'm in 3D. I don't mean to be in 3D. These three things, yeah, they're not here. These 4 things, yeah, whoops. These 4 things here, yeah, these didn't make it into the show. Okay, so everything else basically did, or they're already ready for me to add. But thanks to Mother Nature dumped some snow on us 2 weeks in a row. She decided that it was going to be cold weather for the first 2 or 3 weeks of December, and I wasn't prepared for that. I certainly am used to 40 degree, 50 degree days in November, and Mother Nature threw some curveballs at us. So my show didn't go out as early as I wanted to it, and so with that, some of those things didn't make it in. I had some other logistical challenges that held me back as well, but I was able to put out the bulk of my show. There are onesie twosie things that need to be touched up on, but for the most part, everything you see in the main screen here is on the house. It made it to the house, but what I didn't have on the house was this matrix panel. And what I didn't have yet were the column matrices. Now, I accounted for them. I built them in xLights first, so I programmed them as if I was going to have them. And then after I'd assigned them the controller, and I'd already sequenced them. But I didn't sequence, or I didn't account for the garage matrix. I really didn't think I was going to be able to pull it off this year. So let me get into, and I want you to remember, this wasn't here. This was not here. This did not exist. This was not part of this layout. And what I had to do was I was resurrecting a matrix panel that I had on my old house, my original home layout. And if you look at this, if you click and hover over top of the model, it tells you some data about the model. The first thing it tells you, and this is from my archive. This is a layout that I set up from 2022. It's just in my archive folder, my final 2022, what it looked like whenever I put it away, and how it ran, and it exactly ran this way. What I ended up doing was I ended up, this matrix panel is built very very easy for me to install by myself with zero help. Like, this is a very easy prop to hang up on my old house. On my new house, that was a different story. But let me show you how how this was set up, because I have the picture kind of pre-staged here. Where are you at? I put it way off to the side screen here. Okay. So I want to go into the pictures here. I think it's down here. I think it's here. Well, I thought I had it. Those are some clips that I made for it. That's yeah, I was definitely looking for that. Where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? There it is. So here's the video I posted in PPU of kind of the setup, and these are individual matrix panels that each are separated. They're a mesh matrix panel from Boscoyo. They're 2 feet wide, and they were 8 feet tall. Well, I don't have 8 feet to work with, and my original matrix panel is 35 pixels tall. That's this one here. And so if you can imagine 6 slices here straight across the panel, that's how this matrix panel was created. The problem is that my location here does not allow me to there is not enough room for me to put all 6 panels up at the new place here. And unfortunately, and there's the column matrices. I thought I zoomed out a little bit. This was after I got them hung up, but you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm showing off the clip there, which I have here off to my side. The reason I'm showing you this is because this was only 5 matrix panels. This here on my old layout is 6. I had to redo my entire matrix panel, and I kind of built it so that it was modular. You can't just interlock each of these matrix panels. They have to be labeled, and they have to go in order: panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's because this is not a matrix model. This is a custom model, and this model has a very specific wiring diagram. If I open up the node layout here, this matrix is a 5-volt matrix panel, and it has 100 pixels per output. And if I go up and down, and I zigzag on my matrix going up and down, 100 pixels ends right here. That's 35 up, 35 down, and partially the way up. And then I have 5 more here to go. This is advanced. For any of you who are thinking of doing a matrix like this, this is the hard way. I'm doing it this way only because I've been doing this for a very long time. I have a very solid understanding of how xLights works. This is an advanced feature, but you can export your model, and you can make as many outputs on your model as you need to make in order for your model to come out correctly when you upload it to xLights. I have 100 pixels. Each of these colors represents 100 pixels across the board here. I did make one of them's a boo-boo. This one's a boo-boo, but don't worry about it. Just imagine that they're all 100 across here. The last matrix panel is 12 pixels wide. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's these from here. This whole line straight down doesn't exist in the new house because I couldn't hook it up. But as you can see, the last output starts here, and it is string 21. It's output number 21 on the controller. And it goes up, down, and ends here. And the continuation isn't necessary because I couldn't hook up this panel. So I had to edit the model after I copy and pasted it into xLights from this screen. So you can copy and paste a model, Control C, and of course you can Control V, and you can paste a model. But if you're using a model, let's say that is in an old layout, and you're doing like me, you're putting it in a new house, it's better especially if it's something that's high definition or it has a lot of submodels. It's better to export the xLights model, because what happens is if you export the model, xLights gives us this option to click on the checkboxes for all the groups that you want it assigned to. That way, if you import this model into another layout, it will automatically align these groups with existing groups in your current existing layout, and it will fill those in for you. So what I did was I copy and pasted my model because there were no submodels. But if you were going to export, you would export that model. I'll go ahead and do that process for you really quick. I don't need that group. I would put it in snowflake arms, rings, tips, and snowflakes, and I'd put it in the all house decorations, and I would export that model. Now that goes into your show folder. So if you go back here, this is your show folder. You could open that up and find that file. And then here, if in a second instance of xLights, if you're in Mac, I think you can do that as well. You can do the import, and you can click and drag. Here's your Boscoyo Ice Queen Snowflake. You could bring this in. You could open this up, and it will, well, I'll do it. Doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt anything because I can delete it. I don't use aliases, so that doesn't matter. Model groups already exist. So we took the model groups from this one here. And it says, look, model contains model groups that already exist. Would you like to add this model to the existing groups? So like I said, up here's the group. and it can add it to those existing groups. So now I have my Boscoyo Ice Queen Snowflake, which I am dying to add. It's over here. So this makes number 2. There's number 2 there. But you can see there, it's not been added to any controller because the controller it was added to isn't existing in this layout. That's the second thing. I needed a controller to put this on because this is a giant matrix, 5 volt pixels, 21 outputs. I need to have a controller for this, and I do. Well, I forgot what the controller was, so thank goodness I can open up an old version of the layout. And as Robert likes to say, I don't like to get rid of my backups of old things, but there is a very good reason, because there is no way in xLights now that you can export a controller from one layout and import it into another one. So I had to go and find which matrix I was which controller I was connected to, and I did that by hovering over, selecting, and then coming over here. And here this little drop down little tooltip will tell you, it says it's on IP address 192.168.1.60. If I go back to my controller tab and I look for the .60, now here's the address, the IP address. Here's .60. It says it's an F16 v3. This is my description. I wrote it in there with differential expansion. And here's the setup. Here is all of those ports on 25 outputs. I'm not using the last 4 because that last panel I'm not using. And then this was the whole controller. It had fire sticks in the other column on there. That, of course, isn't going. I made new columns, and they're not 5 volt, they're 12 volt. So I needed this controller. Well, I needed to know what the controller was set up as so I could easily add it in. And all I did was I clicked on the controller, and I read through. And you can do this with screenshotting. If you use so the snipping tool in Windows, you can do a new snip, and you can click and drag over the controller settings, and you can put this off on another screen on your monitor, or just have this open in your system tray down here, and you can refer back to this so that you can see exactly, hey, what are the settings for this that I need to set up? So this was the second step that I did, was I needed to go create the controller. Now, controller placement is important. And what I did was I added Ethernet, and I basically just hit add Ethernet. And the first thing it says, it gives me a red light. It's a red highlight here, and it says, what's my IP address? Well, here's all my pertinent information. Let me just slide this over. And you can see all I have to do is I can copy the name. Here's the name. Here's a description, if I want to put the description on there. Here's the vendor. You can see I want to obviously put Falcon as the vendor on here. And then the important thing, it has one expansion board. And that's all. So I needed to make sure, since this is an F16 v3, it has one expansion board. And now I kind of let xLights take control from here. And I originally set this up as I wanted it to be DDP. Unfortunately, the version of firmware that's on here doesn't support DDP, so I had to stick with E131. And the last thing that I had to do was come in here and add my IP address, 192. Hello, there we go, 192.168.1. I'm sorry, it's actually .2 because I'm at my new house, .60. So I've already done this. This is already completed, but I wanted to show you that, yes, you can add a controller if you need to add a controller. Now notice the placement, and I'm gonna delete this because I don't need to add this into my actual show folder. This is the matrix panel controller right here. .60 to .60 is the IP address for it in the 192.168 networking, and I called it F16v3 5 volt matrix because it's a 5 volt matrix. And I put matrix controller with a differential board as a description. And from there, I'm good to go. Now, obviously, I'm on my display computer, my work computer. I'm not on my show computer. However, I can log into my show computer and show you that it is definitely, my show's running right now. Where'd it go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oop, that's not what I want. There we go. The show computer. Here we go. There we go. There we go. So this is actually going on right now. And it's important that I show you this because I am using xSchedule to run my show. I know a lot of folks use FPP. I won't spend a lot of time on xSchedule, but just suffice to say that if you're running your show already and you're doing these backflips, like creating a new model and you're adding it in, you're importing, and then you're coming in here and you're adding a controller. And if you're already running your show, even if you're on FPP, just because you added it to your show directory and saved it in xLights, your show player has no clue that you've added something. It's still going on because you never closed your FPP or re-uploaded to your FPP instance. So if you were running, your show, here's xSchedule. If you were running your show, like I'm running my show right now, then this matrix panel, and you can see it's highlighted green here. That means xLights and xSchedule can see it. This controller isn't hooked up yet. I haven't gotten there yet, thanks to the snow. But in any event, this controller can be seen. But if I hadn't closed xSchedule and reopened it, and I'm not going to close xSchedule right now to demonstrate that because then my show is going to shut off. But if you have xSchedule running, you're already running your show, you do need to close xSchedule so that xSchedule can refresh the data that you're about to give it whenever you say, hey, I just added this new controller and I added this new prop. So the downside to adding a new prop into your show, especially if you have a bunch of sequences, the biggest downside to adding any prop into your show is you have to resequence the entire show just for that prop. I added something that happened to be that happened to be a prop that didn't have a group, and I physically had to go in and make sure that I had programming on every single one of my sequences just for this matrix. So was it a big headache? No, not really. And the reason it wasn't is because I did a few simple things to set me up in order to make it simple to do so. What I had to do was I had to create a new sequence, or I opened up an existing sequence. I'll just I'll open up one of the advertisements. I have the advertisement Dashers, the advertisement from Dashers that we did for it's under the jokes, jingles, and bumpers. I put 4 of those in my show this year. Have the little fake advertisements. I think they're hysterical. But anyway, the first thing that I had to do was I had to go into the sequence and I had to go in to display elements. When I opened up display elements, I had to go to my master view, not my actual master view, but my new master view. And I had to create for it. I had to put the matrix model inside my master, my new master, so that I could actually sequence it. And so what I had to do is I had to come over to my list. I had to find my matrix panel. I happen to call this Matrix Garage, and I put it on the bottom of my list. Now, depending on what model you're adding, if you added, like I showed you, a snowflake, you don't have to do this. Especially, well, maybe you do. If you're using a PPD sequence and mapping from PPD, and you imported this snowflake and it created all those groups, you do have to come over here into display elements and you have to add your groups if they didn't exist before. You have to bring them over and you have to put them in order. That would be here. Again, this is why this is advanced. You really don't want to add something at the end of this or in the middle of the season after everything's working, because this is the extra work that you have to go through just to do this. But in any event, you would bring your snowflake groups in and you would have them here if you didn't have snowflakes. Now, if you already had the snowflakes and these groups existed already, you're good to go. The sequencing is already there because you just added another snowflake to your groups. We don't sequence on the prop. You would just have to re-render your sequence and poof, it works just fine. Now, the downside is this was sequenced on the individual prop. This doesn't go into a whole house group, and you do have to take your time whenever you open up all of your sequences, and you have to copy to master, And this is just saying, hey, you've got some effects on some other items. And when you click OK, it makes it the master. It adds that garage matrix or that new prop that you just added, and it's all the way at the bottom, right here, garage matrix. And then what I did was I already had a few other matrix panels in my show, and those matrix panels were, well, there's one here up on the above the front door. There is one over here, and then there is one here, a giant present. So I have two of those already sequenced in the show. How do I copy and paste from one to another? Well, xLights gave us some interesting functions in xLights. If you hover over top of the model or the model group and right click, you can click on model, and you can come down here to copy effects. And then you can go down to your actual model. You may need to insert multiple layers. As I did, I inserted 5 layers because one layer comes with it, so it made it 6. And then I right-click, model, and I pasted effects. And it would paste the effects. And after that, you could see that it would copy and paste the effects down to it. I mean, I'll actually do it for you. Here, let me delete it out, and we'll go back to this here. Let's see, model, paste effects. Hopefully it works good. There it is. See? So it's just as easy as that to add it in, and I'm not mapping anything. You, on the other hand, may not have 2 other matrix panels that are already sequenced, taking those effects in and ready to go the way that I had them. So maybe you need to do the long form import, which is import effects, then search through all of your sequences, your package sequences, find the one and import. But it's important, and I know I just grabbed something random here, but here's a pro layout, Bob Rivers, Joys of the World. Okay, matrix at garage fits my garage matrix. If you didn't go through the display elements step that I just talked about, and you make you copy to master where the garage matrix now shows up here. If you didn't do that step, whenever you hit the import button, your item won't show up over here as available to map to. See how that says matrix garage? If you didn't add it into your master view and you go to map it in, it's not going to show up. So those are some of the hangups that you're going to face whenever it comes to adding something at the last minute, especially if it's not sequenced at the group level and it gets individual sequencing like a matrix does, or like ours do, or Megatree might also. So one of the other things that was kind of perplexing me was after I had already put the matrix in, I had to account for a couple of my strings. A whole section, a whole panel needed to be taken off. So what I ended up doing, and this is because this is a custom model, this is advanced. I had to, actually, let me show you over here on this one here. I had to go over to the matrix panel here, and I had to change this to, from 25 strings, I had to subtract four strings off of it, and I had to subtract 12 individual lines off of it. So I went over here to the model data, and I counted the last 4 lines over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I selected, I left the cursor up there, and I came down here, and I held the shift key, and I clicked and selected all of these, and I right click and I cut. And this is how I got rid of that one last panel that was on my matrix. Once this is gone, watch what happens to the matrix down here. Well, I already did it here. Let me put it back. Control Z. Maybe I can do it. Control Z. It didn't work. Maybe you saw it. Maybe you'll see it in the repeat. Yeah. I want to discard that. Let's do that again. I want you to see as you cut that out. So pay attention to. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm holding the shift key and using the arrow keys, and all the way down. Now, if I hit right click, and cut, watch these pixels just completely disappear. Well, they should have. There they go. They're gone. See how they just cut off? Now the other thing that has to happen is I have to trim my unused space because I just got rid of a whole matrix panel. Now, if I trim unused space, before I do that, I'm just going to click OK because this is an old layout. I'm not worried about it. Notice how my matrix doesn't extend all the way over here. This is an important thing that you might have to remember whenever dealing with models. Again, this is advanced. Don't be deleting stuff out of here unless you're 100% sure that this is what you want to do. If you have these extra lines over here, you have to right-click and you have to trim unused space. And boom, anywhere there were squares, you just deleted them, and now all of the squares are being taken up again. And notice how it stretched to fit before. And what xLights is doing is it's saying, hey, stretch to fit this area that you clicked and dragged this across. And in this instance, it's not this size anymore. It's actually smaller. So after this point, I just exported. Well, I exported the model, and that's how I handled getting rid of that one entire matrix section off of here. Now, it may go without saying for some of you, you have to assign the prop to the controller. And notice the placement. I put this at the end of my list. I put this controller at the bottom of the list because all of these effects, everything that was already set up in my entire layout was already working. And here's the magic. If you're adding something and everything already works and you don't want to break anything, put the new controller at the bottom of your list. And on the new controller, all you're going to do is just grab and drag. I'll show you. Here it says Garage Matrix. Grab and drag this over and put this on. Well, don't put it on that one. Let me double click and get rid of that. There we go. Grab and put this on the first one. And so each one of these, 100 pixels per port, except for this one, which I'm going to fix this year, 150 pixels on there. But then see the last one, see how it's 50 pixels, so that would balance it out. But only 21 outputs, and 35 by, instead of 72, it's down, no, 35 by, I can't even remember now. What is 5 times 12? It is 70. It's 60. So it's right now it's down to 60 wide by 35 tall, as opposed to what it used to be, which was 72 wide by 35 tall. I know this is kind of a lot to throw at you. There was so many things, and I want you to keep in mind this is somebody who's using xLights for well over, well, now it's been 13 years of using xLights. Don't walk into it thinking that you can just walk in and do this and it's easy. Take your time if you're adding something new. And I'm walking through this I'm trying to take my time and walk through it and show you guys. But I also want to reiterate that I put this at the bottom of the list because it's the last to get any kind of channels. It starts at channel 91,547. That channel count is higher than anything here. If I decided that I wanted this matrix to exist up here, that would kick all of the channels from here down, and it would cause me to have to re-upload to everything in my entire show. So if you're going to add something new, the safest place to add it is at the very end, where it's getting new channels, it's getting a different controller that's not already existing in xLights. After you upload to the controller, you can then go in and you can go do a new sequence and do a bars test for your sequence. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this because I don't want to save this. But one of the things, and it's very absolutely 100%, I do a bars test. And I'll share this with you guys too. We started doing this a long time ago. Robert came up with this idea. This is a fantastic idea. If you go into the layout tab and you want to test every prop, and they're all pixel-based props, select all your props, right-click, create group, and then we create a group that's called all tests. And you put the all test group into a sequence, and I put it all the way at the top so I don't have to scroll down and look for it in my master view. And I put a bars up test. There's my bars up test. And then I go physically out into the show and I click on the bars up, and does everything in the entire show do a bars up test. And then I go over here and I click bars left, and I put those two there. And literally, I'll click on this off effect that I put underneath it here, and it will run the bars up, and then it will run the bars left. And I can go out in the show and I can walk around and make sure everything in the show is doing exactly what I told it to do. And this is exactly what I did whenever I put my matrix out there. After I uploaded to it, I made sure to render, because this is a sequence. I made sure to render this and then hit the output to lights button. And 100%, everything seemed to work pretty good. I will tell you that because there is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. There's 21 outputs. Sometimes as I was wiring the outputs to this, there's 21 outputs, and I didn't do them all at one time. I actually did one panel at a time, and I didn't move on from a panel until the panel worked correctly. And what can happen is you could say output number 1 on this panel needed to go on port, let's say 10, and output number 2 needed to go on port 11, and output 3. And if you get one of those outputs screwed up, then the bars test doesn't work the right way. And so I accidentally put a couple of them into the wrong outputs. I put 4 into 2 and 2 into 4. That happened on at least 2 panels, and it kind of threw me off because I thought I had grabbed the right one, walked it over to the controller and plugged it in, but apparently I didn't. So again, anytime you add something new into your show, and I'm doing this, I wasn't doing this 5 minutes before the show starts. That's another important lesson. I was doing this at like 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, whenever I didn't have a bunch of people that I needed to go and take care of things for, and I had cleaned off my plate and made sure that I wasn't getting distracted from other things that might be going on around me, so that I could concentrate on this, because adding something into your show is not a rudimentary thing, as you can tell, whenever you are already up and running. You can, if I had chosen to put this on another controller, let's say this other F16 V3, or maybe my V2s, if I was using the V2 to do this, and I put it in the middle, that would have thrown off all of these channels. All of the channeling up here would have been completely thrown off. I would have had to upload to every one of those controllers. Yes, sure, you can do it, but why chance it when everything already works? And that's the best way that I can kind of come up with ideas to give you for adding in. Now, if you are just adding a snowflake in and you use PPD sequences, it's simple. We have a snowflake group. Add it to your snowflake group. Put it on the last controller that you possibly can. If it's a controller in the middle, just keep in mind whatever controller you're adding it to. If you add it to whatever controller that's going on to, just keep in mind, hey, from here down, I have to upload all of these to all of my controllers, because if you are using DDP, you're going to have to re-render everything because it's not going to understand the channel data that you're sending out to it. If you're using FPP Connect, you're going to have to FPP Connect and upload your models again, and you're going to have to re-upload all of your sequences. So hands up to all the people who know how painful it can be to redo all of your FPP stuff, especially if you have multiple instances. That is a huge consideration. So if you are going to add anything into xLights, I highly, highly, highly recommend take your time, make a plan. Don't let people bother you, so that you can concentrate on doing the one thing that you want to add in. I love receivers. Whenever it comes a basic dumb receiver, whenever it comes to adding something quickly, because you can usually just slot it into a differential output on a Falcon or even one of your FPP controllers. The problem is if that controller exists at the top of your list, you have to push all the channels down just to add that one prop in. You have to add it to your master view if it's like a matrix or a mega tree, or it's an individual prop that you're going to sequence on, or you also have to take into consideration the sequencing that has to be imported into it for every single sequence. So your display elements is key. Placement in your layout inside your controller listing here, and also the method to which you're getting it out. I always recommend put it on the last bottom controller, put it at the end of the chain so it gets the highest channel numbers, so you're not messing up everything else, because you work so hard to get everything working, and the last thing you want to do is panic because you hurried up and added something. You really do have to take your time. You have to test things out before you go live. Don't go doing this 5 minutes before your show runs, and then everything gets screwed up, because then you get stressed out. So guys, I am going to look through chat here. If you have any questions specifically, go ahead and ask them in chat. Meanwhile, if you're on YouTube or if you're on Facebook, I highly recommend you come into the PPD Zoom room tonight. If you are still working on your show, if you're doing crazy stuff like this, or you're running into some brick walls right now, we want to make sure that you guys are up and running. If you are not running and you have questions and you're trying to get certain things to work out, we want to take care of you. So by all means, jump in the PPD Zoom room. Go to pixelprodisplays.com. All you have to do to get in the Zoom room, if you're watching on YouTube or you're on Facebook, head over to PPD. Click on this link here at the top where it says Learning and PPD Zoom Webinars. Click on this button. The password is PPD lowercase. Just jump in the Zoom room, put your hand up, and we're happy to answer questions for you. So, guys, I hope this video was helpful, informative. I know it was a little long-winded, and I know it was a very specific use case, but if you are not a new user, if you're somebody who has the basic understandings of the display elements, of putting a controller into your show without having somebody look over your shoulder to make sure you're good, if you can do these things and you keep everything sorted and organized and methodical, you can add something in. Just take your time with it, and don't do it 5 minutes before your show. You need to start early in the day, get it done, do it on the weekend whenever you're not stressing out over stuff, and try to have nobody bother you so that you can do it right. Go out and test it with the bars effect, and you should be successful. So thank you very much, everybody. That's everything I have for you. I will go ahead and end the live stream. Thank you, YouTube. You're welcome to join us. Facebook, you are welcome to join us as well. I'm going to jump into chat here and read some of the questions, and we will see you guys next week in Zoom here in PPD. If we don't catch you later, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you all, and we'll catch you next time. Take care, everybody. Goodbye for now.